would like to take a few minutes to introduce you to the LSP FloaterCoater. This is the ultimate lubricating system for dispensing lubricant onto coil stock prior to it entering the die area in a punch press. It is constructed primarily of stainless steel and is electronically controlled so the lubricant is dispensed in an even coating and only in the quantities necessary to do the job. It is a precision dispenser that allows the user to control how, when, and in what quantities the lubricant is applied to the stock. The FloaterCoater is the heart of the system. This is where the lubricant is dispersed onto the stock. It is heavy gauge stainless steel to stand up to harsh conditions found in the press room. The features of this unit will be explained at a later point in this presentation. An electronic controller is used to regulate the flow of lubricant from the diaphragm pump to the FloaterCoater. The controller will be programmed so that the lubricant is dispersed at the proper time and in the proper quantities. A three-way air valve is used to open and close the rolls of the FloaterCoater whenever a new piece of coil stock is to be threaded through the rolls. A reservoir that is available in different sizes holds the lubricant. Should more than one lubricant be used on a press, it is possible to install multiple reservoirs with the different lubricants and switch from one to another by opening and closing different valves. A diaphragm pump moves lubricant from the reservoir to the FloaterCoater. This is all that is necessary to create a precision roller coating system. We are now going to show in greater detail how each component works and how they are interconnected to operate into a fully synchronized system, as it would be utilized in a press operation. The three-way open and close air valve and diaphragm pump are mounted on the reservoir at the LSP facilities, producing a clean and simplified installation for the lubricant delivery part of the system. The electronic controller can also be mounted to the reservoir, or it can be positioned with the other press controls. For this presentation, we show it mounted to the reservoir. The three-way open and close air valve and diaphragm pump both use shop air in their operation. Shop air will be set between 50 to 80 psi and is plumbed into both the three-way air valve and the diaphragm pump. Tubing of the proper size will carry air between the output of the three-way open and close air valve to the air-in fitting located on the FloaterCoater. A 24-volt solenoid valve is connected to the fluid outlet port of the diaphragm pump. This valve is connected to and controlled by the electronic controller. The cable for the solenoid valve is now attached to the electronic controller. A lubricant line will be attached to the solenoid valve's outlet port and connected to the lubricant inlet port on the FloaterCoater. The electronic controller will be programmed to open and close the solenoid valve each time it receives a signal during a cycle of the press. A sensor that is attached to the controller is used to receive one signal on each cycle of the press. It receives a signal from a magnet that is attached to a moving part of either the press or the feeder. When a signal is received, it activates the controller. The controller can be programmed in a number of different outputs. It can give one long on signal or multiple short on signals during each cycle. When the controller's power line is plugged into a 110 volt receptacle, the controller is activated and ready to program. The installation is complete, and now the reservoir can be filled with lubricant and the air turned on to the three-way air valve and the diaphragm pump. Once the air is turned on, the diaphragm pump will be under pressure, but in the rest mode until the solenoid valve is open. When the solenoid valve is opened, the pump will go into action and move lubricant to the FloaterCoater. The three-way air valve located in the reservoir is opened, and air flows through the valve and opens the rolls so that stock can be fed through the rolls. When the valve is released, 4 springs, 2 on each side of the FloaterCoater, gently close the rolls and are the force that holds the rolls against the stock during the operation. Ideally, the center line of the FloaterCoater will be at the same height as the center line of the feeder. If the two center lines are slightly off, it is of little consequence, since a floating mechanism in the floater coater allows it to self-adjust the height plus or minus 750 thousandths of an inch on the small units, up to 1 inch 250 thousandths of an inch on the larger units. Should there be movement in the stock, this floating mechanism also allows the rolls to move with the stock. This prevents the rolls from opening during movement and leaving unlubricated areas of stock to pass through the die. There are times the rolls have to be removed. Maybe one job needs a light coating and the next job needs a heavier coating, or maybe there's a change from an oil lubricant to a synthetic lubricant, or the rolls simply have to be cleaned, or the unit has to be cleaned. The floater coater is designed so that the rolls can be changed in less than 2 minutes. Simply open the rolls, pry one side only of the top roll loose from its housing, and then swing the loosened end out of the floater coater. The other end of the roll will follow. To remove the bottom roll, simply pick it up and remove it from its cradle. The rolls are made of long-lasting polyurethane and come in different textures to allow the correct amount of lubricant to be transferred to the stock. A smooth roll would be used for a very light film, and a hatch surface for a heavier coating. While the rolls are out, we can show how the lubricant is dispersed along each roll. Manifolds are placed against the backside of each roll, and these manifolds are spring-loaded and held in place in a floating position against the lubricating rolls. The lubricant enters the manifolds through the inlet fitting and is then dispersed out of a single hole between the manifold and the roller. A groove crosses the hole and runs the distance of the manifold. This groove allows the lubricant to flow for the complete length of the manifold, thus ensuring an even coating of lubricant for the length of the manifold. Lubricant on-off valves for each manifold are located either side of the cabinet. The lubricant passes through these valves on the way to the manifolds. These valves allow the user to shut off any manifold that does not need to be on. It can also be used to shut off the top or bottom manifolds. Or it is ideal if just the edges or just the center of the stock has to be lubricated. The floater coater can handle both heavy and light lubricants. When the rolls have to be reinstalled, it is a simple matter just to lay the bottom roll in its cradle and to snap the top roll back in place. The floater coater is now installed on the press to give a controlled lubricant coating as the stock travels through on the way to the die. Thank you for taking the time to view our floater coater CD. Our presentation is now complete. For further information or an in-plant demonstration, please contact your local distributor, or you may contact LSP directly.